everyone, and welcome to the final episode of Hype Season 4. I'm Monica, and I will take you through this episode of Hype, where we have with us Guna Shekar sir, who is an ex-intern at Stripe and is currently working to build a startup company, KoinX. And we also have with us Srivastava sir, a former SWE intern at Meta London and is currently a software engineer at Optio. Before we get started, I would like to wholeheartedly congratulate both of you for all the things that you've achieved so far in your college life and how far you've come, because we all know that it's no easy task. So, first things first, let's start with your introduction so that our audience can get a better understanding of you both. Ganesh, sir, you can go first.
Yep. So hi everyone. Thank you for having me here. I hope everyone's doing well. So I'm Guna. I am a recent BTech in Computer Science graduate from IIIT Gwalior. I have previously worked with companies like Stripe and Tezos India, and currently I'm working towards building a startup called KoinX.
Shivan, sir, you can go.
Sure. Hi everyone, my name is Shivansh. I just graduated from IIIT Gwalior with a bachelor's in computer science, and currently I'm working full time as a software engineer at a London-based remote startup called Optio. It's a very small startup, and previous to which, I have worked at Facebook London as a software engineering intern last summer. Prior to which, I was mostly working and contributing to open source projects from Postman to Codino and a bunch of other like freelancing works. Yeah, that's it. I think about myself.
Awesome. Okay, so clearly both of you have managed to achieve so much in your 4 year journey. So could you briefly describe your journey so far? How were you in your first year versus, when you just entered your college versus like when you graduated? And did you already have like a strong hold of programming, or did you have to start entirely from scratch? Any challenges or hurdles that you faced? Anything we would love to know.
Okay, I can start. So yeah, when I came into college, yes, I already knew a bit of programming. Uh, as you mentioned, I thought I had a strong hold on programming, but very soon I realized that is not strong enough. So yeah, as soon as I came into college, I got introduced to competitive programming, and along with all of my peers, I started doing competitive programming and realized that there is so much more to learn than what I imagined there was. So yeah, for almost 1.5 semester, I did competitive programming and then eventually forayed into development. So that is where my development journey started, approximately in the summer after my first year. So that is when I started doing web development, mobile app development, and blockchain development. And my second year was mostly just development. Uh, I took part in a couple of internships as well. I contributed slightly to building the website of Aurore, that is our institute's cultural fest. Apart from that, it was mostly doing development and attending in-person hackathons as it used to be in 2019. And yeah, that was my second year. And when the third year came in, it was the internship season. So we started preparing. I started lead coding again, and preparing for my interviews. And luckily enough, I got selected for Stripe pretty soon, sometime around October. And after that, I went on to do my Tezos India fellowship and then my MLS fellowship, uh, followed by Stripe internship. And my fourth year was just exploring whatever I wanted to do. So I learned a bit of stock trading. I tried to launch a company of my own, failed very badly. And then in the second semester of my fourth year, that is my final semester, that is when I started to work with the startup CoinX, and that is where I am right now. So that was my technical growth, and yeah, personally as well, I think there has been a lot of change. I used to be very overconfident in my initial years in whatever I did, and now I think I'm just sufficiently confident. So yeah, it has been a great journey, both technical or otherwise.
That sounds great. Shivan, sir, would you like to talk about your journey?
Yes. So like similar to like what Guna just said, like I had taken like computer science during my plus two in high school. So So I was introduced to like C and C++ during my schooling time, and also like worked some kind of a stuff with HTML and CSS. But yeah, when I first came to the college, like there was this course called Introduction to Programming by Soumya ma'am. And like yeah, that course was like pretty much like you can easily slack off if you have a bit of understanding about fundamentals. So starting the first semester, I was actually very fortunate enough to be surrounded by such a good set of peers, and one of them actually told me to start solving implementation problems on HackerRank. And that's how I think I got started with DSA and problem solving skills. So I think for the first semester, I solved around 150 problems on HackerRank for the implementation set. And I think by that time, after the end of my first semester, that is during the winter break, I got more into like picking specific data structures and learning STL and all that stuff. So from my second year, like from my second semester, I changed, switch platforms from HackerRank to HackerEarth. This time, another senior suggested me to solve problems, something called Code Monk on HackerEarth. So I did pretty much the entire second semester, the same thing. And this was also the time when I think we were introduced to web development by ASF. So I got into like a full stack web development, but I was using PHP and mostly like HTML, CSS, JS. And by the end of the first year, that is in the first year summers, I was like very much intrigued by the idea of CP, and like because everyone in my batch was doing CP, the seniors, juniors, everyone was into CP. So I was like, I wanted to like really make myself count into that group. So I started because everyone else was doing it. So I got into CP, and basically for that I met one of the teachers on from coding blogs called Pratik Narang Bhaiya, and I got enrolled into an online course for CP, and I was doing it for I guess 2 or 3 months, before which finally I like lost my charm for CP. Like CP doesn't make like much sense to me, so that's why I have to quit CP. And then I think after the summer breaks, I did one freelancing project as a software engineer with a remote startup. And after that, once the college began, like in the second semester beginning, I got started with the open source contribution. And this was the time when I mostly worked with Codeno for 2 or 3 months. And after which Google Coding thing happened, like I got selected as a mentor for Codeno. After that, like I got my first real on-site internship in Bangalore. So I moved to Bangalore for 1 month. But and after that, I think COVID happened, and we all came back to our homes. And then when I guess Facebook, I got an interview call from Facebook. So yeah, Facebook. And then like after that, you most of you already know. And after Facebook, like I got back home, I got a PPO offer from Facebook. And then I think during December of last year, I got reached out by a company in London called Optio. It's a very small age startup, just 20 people in the team. Give me a sec. So I joined Optio. I decided to join Optio because I always wanted to like work on a like very early age product. So that's what basically made me so interested into working at Optio. And right now I'm working as a full-time software engineer, but I'm planning to switch like really soon to Facebook again, and I'll be like moving to London.
That's awesome. Like I've noticed that both of you have like tried CP development and so many other things. And yeah, that is awesome. And I think like everyone needs to explore how much ever they can in their college. So
I would like to add one more thing over here. So like
sure.
don't get into CP because everyone else is also doing it. Like if you really find it interesting, then only like go with CP, because I know like a lot of my seniors who were like really so good at CP. Because like they really find that so interesting. They used to get that adrenaline rush whenever like they get green tick on submitting a problem. But for me, it wasn't the case. So that's why I have to drop that thing.
Right, true. Awesome. So, moving on, uh, Gunasa, you were a former SWE intern at Stripe, and you've also received an offer from Stripe Singapore. And Shivansh, sir, you were a former SWE intern at Meta, and have also received an offer from them. So, could you both like share your experience working at your respective companies? What was the interview process like, and most importantly, how did you manage to convert the internship into a full-time offer?
Shivansh, you want to go first?
Sure. So I worked with the Shops ads team at Facebook in the London office. And Shops ads is like a very new product launched in the commerce org, and it was like launched in the 2020 during the middle of the pandemic to support small struggling businesses, because of course like entire market was shut down across the globe. So we launched Shops ads. So we launched Facebook Shops, and Facebook Shops ads team basically is like responsible for optimizing the delivery and like efficiency of the ads that we run for Facebook Shop. So that's about like my team, and I basically worked on building a tool specific to help the customers who got impacted because of Apple's app privacy tracking issue. So I built a tool for that. It somehow like worked and it did its job pretty well. And after that, I would say like if to summarize my experience working at Meta, like I think like that was like one of the best summers I ever had. Like I worked with one of the most smartest people, I would say, across all the engineers that I know. So like, and the culture at Facebook is like so open. So like you can message like Mark Zuckerberg to like adrenal like anyone like let's say if you're working on some front end setup and you got and like you are not able to like you got stuck on something and you need issue or like you need a help with React or any such stuff, like you can simply message the team who actually maintains React right now, or like you can message the founders who build React Redux or who build like Redux. So like everything is so accessible. So yeah, I think that was the best opportunity I've ever got to work on such a large scale of products, and then again at such a large scale. Like Facebook has like a billion, more than a billion daily active users. So it was a great opportunity. And to start with, how I got this opportunity. So basically, I always had this thing very clear in my mind that I don't want to sit for on-campus internships, because of course the companies that I want to interview for, they don't actually visit our campus. So that's why I started my my application process quite early. So, and I think during April of 2020, I think it's the same time when we went back home after due to COVID. I got reached out by a recruiter from Facebook Singapore office through my GitHub profile. So like she told me, okay, like we have saw your GitHub profile and seems very interested. So I think that's how I got the process started with Facebook. So there were a total of 2 coding rounds, and those rounds actually begin. So like first thing is basically a recruiter phone screening call with a recruiter. That's around a 15 to 20 minute call, followed by which there will be a 45-minute coding interview in which like you are expected to solve medium to high difficulty level problems. And the second round is again a coding interview, where like you are again expected to solve 2 problems. This round also has a specific of 15 minutes for the behavioral rounds. In some cases, this 15-minute behavioral round is part of the second interview, but in most of the cases that I know, like they have these days, like they are taking a separate behavioral interview for everyone, for all the interns and for new grads. So there were 2 technical, one behavioral, and one recruiter phone screening interview. And after all this, like my packet was sent to the hiring committee, which actually decides if we are going to extend an offer or not. And I still remember the date and the day. It was 21st of July, 9 p.m. I was watching some random YouTube video, and I got a call from a UK number +44, and I picked the call, and it was my recruiter on the other end, and she told me like we are happy to extend you this offer. So yeah, it was like one of the most happiest days of my life. The day I got the offer.
That sounds awesome. And like honestly, up until now, like whenever you hear someone like they're working at Meta or some company like this, obviously like you find it very cool. But now how you told your experience, directly reaching out to all of those people, it sounds 1,000 times cooler. Um,
Okay, so like I remember like one of our actually co-interns like messaged like Zuckerberg just out of and asked like if he can actually provide some hoodie to him. And like I remember like a week or two later after that, like he got a pack of hoodies.
Whoa, that is so cool.
Zuckerberg, yeah.
So Ganasa, would you like to talk about your experience?
Sure. So, in one sentence, the experience was really amazing. It was one of the most enriching experiences as an engineer, I would say. So, I worked with the APAC cards team that basically deals with card network integrations with Stripe in the APAC region. So, basically, you have card networks like Visa, MasterCard, RuPay, Amex, and all of these. And Stripe is a payment processor. So, you would have to integrate all of them into Stripe. So, I was part of that team uh, trying to fix some existing issues. And when I was doing my internship, the Indian government released a law saying that a law that was around recurring transactions in India. So we had to change our systems according to that. So that was one of the major projects that I worked on. And yeah, it was great to know that my work had impacted so many merchants in India, and that actually helps them, continue receiving payments in India. So that was what I did at Stripe. And coming to the company and the culture, the people are really nice, really helpful. Yeah, you can ping anyone at any time, and they're really supportive of you. Uh, so yeah, I had a great experience at Stripe. Moving on to the interview process, it starts off with an online coding round. So you give a test on HackerRank, and based on the results of your test, you move forward. So you then have three interviews. The first one is a coding round. It's a 1 hour coding round where you get asked a question and you have to solve it. The second one is a 2 hour coding round. So it's divided into two parts. So there are two different interviewers taking you questions back to back. So that is the second round. And then the last round is a managerial interview where you have a chat with a senior engineering manager from Stripe. That's basically around your previous work, what you did at your previous internships, and anything surrounding your engineering experience. So yeah, these were the rounds in the Stripe interview process. And once that was done, they were pretty quick with their responses. After each round, they were responding pretty quickly within a day or two. So right after my final round, within a couple of days, I received a. Actually, I did not receive a confirmation mail right away. So the recruiter mailed me saying that we will come with your result. So we're deciding something. Would tomorrow be a right time to call? So I was like, yeah, sure, tomorrow would be a right time to call. And then when tomorrow came, they were like, oh, since you're from India, we have some more documents to go through. So I'll get back to you tomorrow. And then the tomorrow came again. So I had to keep waiting. I had no idea if it was going to be an acceptance or rejection. So the tomorrow finally came. And yeah, they called me and they mentioned that you've been selected. So that was a moment of relief. So yeah, that was about the interview process. And I guess you also asked about the conversion from.
Right, yes.
Okay, so for that, I would just do your best, put your best foot forward, ask questions. They know that you're an intern, they know that you're a fresh grad, so you needn't know everything. So ask questions, be curious, do your best work, and yeah, you can easily get a conversion offer.
Awesome. That's really interesting. And honestly, like, the part where you as an intern, probably in like, in your second, third year of college, are actually doing something that the entire, like, it's actually being used in real life. That is so cool. Like, um, amazing. So Shivansh sir, you worked in London. So how did it feel like getting an offer to go abroad, and what was your experience staying there? Tell us everything about it.
Sure. So like it was like in one word, it was like very wonderful experience. So the thing was that I was part of the Facebook EMEA teams, and EMEA basically consists of like all the European Union countries and some parts of Africa also. So so my intern class was like very diverse. From diverse, I mean like there were people from South America to two countries like Romania and Egypt and Jordan. So I made a bunch of friends. What if something doesn't go well, because this was, I think, my only opportunity, like the biggest opportunity that I had at that point of time to convert it. So like once I reached London, I had the first thing is like if you want to convert an internship to an offer, make sure that you should be like very clear with your expectations to your intern manager or like whoever is like your host over there. So communicate them very well that what exactly you are expecting from the end of the internship. And for Facebook especially, like we have a category, a set of intern performance ratings, right? So like there's like based on expectation, meets some, meets all, great expectation and all that. So I told them like I'm targeting for the highest set of expectation, that is redefined expectations. And I was working on the same scope. I was targeting this on the same level. But yes, so basically like when you set expectation that you are targeting for this particular level of some effort. So it was of course not a very smooth journey. I worked some overhours. I worked on weekends also for some days because I need to push my project very early than what I was supposed to do. So it was a 12-week internship, and I finished my project in the seventh week. And for the remaining 5 weeks, I actually worked with different XFN teams. I also got an opportunity to work with Instagram and building an integration of Instagram and Spotify. So that was not at all a part of my intern project. I totally like reach out to Instagram team, like one of the teams in Instagram, and I proposed an idea, and they gave me an opportunity to work on that stuff. So yes, I think the it was a great experience. And in terms of like this was all about like the tech stuff. And aside from that, if you would say, like I have learned a lot on a personal level from my teams and from my manager and from people like from the folks who I've worked around with. Those are like really great people. And other than that, so like I also got to like travel a lot across the UF just to certain things. You just optimize their ad performance. You didn't build another ad framework. Whereas coming to like my current role at Optio, like here I'm like leading a complete project from my own. I'm building an ads optimization service for Microsoft Ads, and it's totally a like unique project. So like basically here, like in working at a startup, you get a more ownership role. Like you get to like take each and every decision, how exactly you want to like from things like how exactly you want to like how exactly maybe like you how exactly you want to format your code base, or how exactly you want to build the deployment pipelines and all that stuff. Like from architecture to everything, like you got to decide on your own. You have the final control, right? You take you build us things from scratch, you also like maintain them and everything is like you are responsible for everything. Whereas at Facebook, like you were kind of a, or like any big tech company, you were kind of you building things but at a large scale, but like your contribution is like very small. I think this is what I find a major difference between both the companies.
That's really insightful. So, Ganasa, you were a GitHub campus expert, and I'm pretty sure it must have been very hard to get shortlisted since there's so few campus experts all over the world. So, since you've been like a GitHub campus expert for over a year, what impact did it have on you and the people around you? And also, like, briefly tell us what the program is about.
Right. So the GitHub Campus Expert program is basically about helping nurturing your developer community. So the reason I am very interested in this program and not any other program is because when there are tons of campus ambassador, campus expert, student expert programs around the globe, right? But most of them expect something in return. They would either ask you to promote their product or get registrations for any of their campaigns or something like that. But GitHub Campus Expert program was one of the programs that I found where they're completely selfless. They don't ask anything from you. All they want to do is to support your developer community, right? So that is the main reason why I was drawn towards this program. And because of that, I even gave my everything towards this program. Like I've been a student representative for quite a few other companies and programs as well. But I would say GitHub Campus Expert program is the only one where I actually put in my best effort and contributed to it, for the sole reason that the people on the other side also want nothing but to do something for your community. How they do it? Basically, they want you to organize events. They want you to build a community, help people, organize contests, development events, and all of that. And they will support you in form of sponsorship or prizes or goodies, swags, and whatever. So I mean, if you're from IIIT Gwalior, you would know that events from ASF always include prize like GitHub T-shirts or figurine or something like that. So all of that comes from GitHub. But you also know that we don't really promote anything related to GitHub, so they just do it out of goodwill. So yeah, that is about the GitHub Campus Expert program. And yeah, the impact, as I mentioned, like because of everything they provide, we definitely at ASF received a higher number of registrations, a higher number of participants in all of the events. So it definitely created an impact in bettering the developer ecosystem in our institute. Apart from this side of things, I also got to be a part of the GitHub Education Stream team, which is basically it was a 12-week program where I could go on to GitHub Education's Twitch channel every week on Thursday at 7 p.m. and teach people about blockchain. So prior to that, I was only on camera or live with our college students, right? So I used to teach a bunch of folks from our college, but here I had a global audience and multi-thousand views for all of my videos. So it was a great experience to reach out to a wider audience and trying to teach them what I know about it. So yeah, that was about the impact that I got to experience via the Campus Expert program.
Wow, both the initiative and your journey sound amazing. Um, yeah, so Shivansh sir, we know that you were a Google coding mentor. So could you like please share your experience being a Google coding mentor? How did you apply for this, and what was the selection process like?
Okay, so first of all, I would like to like explain what exactly Google Coding is, because a lot of people really don't know like difference between what exactly Google Coding is, and because like everyone knows about GSOC, but a very little know about Google Coding. So Google Coding is kind of an open source program, but just limited for pre-university students. So basically, since I already mentioned at the beginning of the video that I was actively contributing to an open source org called Codeno, and I think it's been for me it was around 2 or 3 months in that org I was contributing, and I was like one of the top contributors for a particular repo. So so basically in terms of application process that like they first create an opening, I think on the org level, where like you submit your proposal, like what exactly things you are kind of expecting the other applicants, like your mentees is going to work on. So you create a kind of a proposal, a project proposal, and then like you submit the project proposal, and like what exactly how much time you have contributed to that particular org, and what exactly your vision for the tool and product, and all those things. And then like you after the you all submit all these things, there will be 2 rounds. I think 2 rounds of interviews were there. The one was taken by the founder, and other one was taken by one of the senior tech lead of the org. So yeah, that's how they exactly pick mentors. And like as a mentor, like you have to also give a lot of time to actually support your mentees, like, and those mentees are actually like pre-university students. So unfortunately there were didn't like much students from India, because I think right now in India, in Indian schools, like, we don't really teach students about coding or actually contributing to open source projects. But yes, I supported a bunch of people from US, a bunch of students like who were like 14 or 15 years of old, and they were knowing the entire like Node.js and entire framework. So yeah, that was quite cool to actually like see like such a young fox coming up to contribute first of all like for free to an open source project. So I worked as a Google Coding mentor for 1.5 month, and before which I was actively contributing to Codino, and I think that's how they extended me this opportunity.
Wow, awesome. And thank you for sharing that with us because, as you said, I think like a lot of people are not aware of Google Coding
Mhm.
as compared to GSOC and all of that. So that's
And also
amazing.
like right now, like Google Coding has the program has been actually like deprecated, I would say. Like they have canceled this program, so now it will be just GSOC. There will be no GSOC for pre-university student. But I think like that was a good opportunity, a good program for actually students like who are actually doing coding right now in India, like they're early age and they want to apply to something similar called GSOC, so they can do GCI. But yeah, no, it's not anymore.
Right. Okay. Um, yeah, so Guna sir, you were Tezo's India Fellow in the year 2020. So could you please tell us what the fellowship was about and how you got into blockchain, as well as your experience in the fellowship?
Right. Okay. So I'll start with how I got into blockchain and then
Right.
lead on to how I got the fellowship. So I started with blockchain in the summer after my first year. So I was already doing web development and mobile app development, and I thought I that I had the bandwidth to explore another field. So I was searching for some fields, and most of my other friends were doing machine learning, right? And that was enough reason for me to not do that. So I chose something else. So then I started looking at some other fields, and from that I found blockchain to be like pretty interesting. So I read up about it, I did a course, and yeah, it was pretty interesting to me. So I started learning, started implementing things on blockchain. And once I started doing that, there was a senior of mine. So I asked him if who also did blockchain. So I asked him if he knows about any internships, related to blockchain. So he suggested a company to me. I have no idea how he knew about that company. That company had like it was established 1 month before when he told me about that opportunity. So I went on to their company website. They did not have any blockchain related roles, but they had a mobile app developer role. So I was like, I know mobile app as well, and the company is blockchain oriented, so might as well apply. And then I got into that company as a mobile developer intern, and eventually I went on to do full stack development within that company too. And as I said, they were an edtech company focused on blockchain, so they were teaching students about blockchain. So I got an opportunity to be one of their cohort members, where they taught people about blockchain. And that cohort was the instructor for that cohort was like one of the industry leaders in blockchain. He was one of the you could say Bitcoin OGs. He was there from that time, and he taught a lot about how the blockchain actually works, what happens underneath, and how you could implement stuff on top of it. So that was a really eye-opening experience for me about how blockchain actually works. And that was there is a one point in the exponential growth curve where it starts to take off, right? So I think that was that point for me. And yeah, because of that, and then I went on to apply for the Tezos India fellowship and cleared the interviews and gave like pretty good answers for all the blockchain questions because I had the experience from the cohort. So yeah, now coming to the fellowship, Tezos India Fellowship is basically a program where they want to take in students who are either new to blockchain or slightly experienced with blockchain, give them mentorship and help them launch a product, right? So I was part of the second group. So when I was a part of the group, I was a part of the fellowship. There was only one track, so it was only for people who knew a bit about blockchain, wanted to build a product. So I came into the fellowship. I met a couple of other people who I teamed up with, and then we went on to build a product called as Kickflow. It's a quadratic crowdfunding platform. So it's actually live now. You could go on to kickflow.io and check out the product. So yeah, that is what I did at my fellowship. And during the fellowship, I worked with my teammates, I worked with mentors, and we built this product and we launched it. But yeah, this was like a perfect epitome of, I would say, joining the dots looking backwards, right? So if I hadn't talked to that senior who wouldn't have suggested that company, then I wouldn't have been a part of that cohort, and I wouldn't have got blockchain knowledge, and I wouldn't have gotten into Theos India Fellowship. So it was a great journey overall as a blockchain engineer. And yeah, Theos India Fellowship was pretty great too.
Right, that sounds incredibly amazing. Um, so, well, despite being part of so many things, as we've just seen, both of you have maintained an incredibly good CGPA. So, how did you manage academics with coding, development, extracurriculars, and also taking part in so many other programs side by side? Do you have any tips for juniors?
Okay, so firstly, I would say it's all about priorities. Set up your priority list. If CGPA is one of your top priorities, then work towards it, right? And especially in IIIT Gwalior, you don't need to study every day in order to get a good CGPA, right? So for before the exams, you could just study for a week or so, and you can still get a great grade. Uh, but yeah, like attending lectures and that's one plus. So you don't really have to put a lot of pressure on yourself towards the when the exams are coming near. But again, as I said, it's about priorities, and for a lot of people, CGPA is not a priority in their initial years. So it's a great time for you to get a good CGPA, right? So if you get a good CGPA in your initial years, that will help you throughout your 4-year journey or 5-year journey. Because as you move through the years, you'll have tons of other things to do. So you'll be doing CP, you'll be doing development, you might be part of clubs, fests, and you might be organizing events. Finding time for studies with all of this happening is really difficult. So you might as well study in your first year when you don't have a lot of that stuff. So these would be my two tips. Prioritize. If CGPA is important to you, then work for it. Just study 1 week or so before the exams, and you can get a good CGPA. And yeah, try to get it as early as possible, because that's the best time you could find for getting a good CGPA.
Right, true. I think prioritizing does take you a long way, like, in terms of time management and everything. So Shivan, sir, would you like to share your advice on this?
I think Guna has already covered like most bit of it. There's like nothing much left over here. But yeah, I would say like in Triple ITM, like we don't have very rigorous academic schedule, so you can like always study for a week or so before the exams, and you can just like slack it off. That's like it's quite easy. And again, like it's a good option to actually like focus on your CGPA in the initial years of a college, basically in the first second year, because like after second year, once you start preparing for interviews, like you'll also focus on like interviews, like you have like, so many other things to look at. Like you will be like looking at opportunities, you will be like applying for them daily, and then you will be having your interview schedule like lined up, so you will get like little to no time for preparing for your academic or for exams. So I would say like yes, like you should like focus more on your like more in the initial first or 2-3 semesters of the college, because that's the best time where you can just pull it high as you can.
Right, true. And I think this will be really helpful for like the freshers who just went to college now.
And
Uh,
especially like if you are also focusing for applying for an off-campus opportunity, I would say that like there are a bunch of companies in India as well as in abroad also, who actually like focus a lot on a CGPA. So like there are companies like Microsoft, like I think they have a the cutoff score of I think 8 CGPA or so. And then there are also some hedge funds in India like Tower Research and Gravitas, I guess, and a similar hedge funds also in like UK and US, where like they don't really like, where they just select the best of the best. So for them, like CGPA or your GPA or your final GPA is like one of the most important criteria for them to actually pick you up, because that's how they know like, okay, like this guy was sincere in their college days, which means like he'll not be slacking off in if we're going to select or interview him, right? So that's how like a lot of companies actually like they use it as a threshold, like they use it as a filter to like just filter out candidates in the initial rounds of screening. So make sure like you have a good CGPA. I would say any CGPA above 8.5 or around 8.5 is good enough.
right, okay. Um, so, Ganasa, could you briefly tell us what KoinX is about and how it got started and what is the problem that KoinX tries to solve?
Sure. So CoinX is basically a cryptocurrency tax automation tool. So when you talk about taxations in crypto, it's very complex, right? People are investing in several different kinds of instruments on hundreds of different platforms, and integrating all of that, and getting your tax liability, doing it manually at least, is really difficult and next to impossible, I would say, at least manually. So that is what CoinX is trying to solve. We're trying to simplify crypto taxes for individuals. So if you go onto our platform coinx.com, you would see that we are trying to give you your crypto taxes faster than your grocery delivery. So that is what we're aiming to do. And yeah, how it started sometime around February. So again, this was one of those looking back and joining the dots moment. So I told you about the first internship that I got, right, as a mobile developer intern. So the founder of that company is the founder of CoinX as well. So when he got this idea of building a cryptocurrency tax automation tool, he reached out to me saying that, hey, I have this idea. I need someone to build the technology around it. So that is how I joined hands with him and started building CoinX from February, March onwards. So yeah, that is how it started.
Awesome, that's really interesting. Um, and yes, like I mean, I did hear about like all of these tax problems that come with cryptocurrency and all of that. So yeah, that's amazing. So would you like to tell us a few of the challenges that you faced, in the journey so far?
I would say there were quite a bit of challenges. Firstly, the set of challenges that every startup faces. It's really difficult to get user feedback right at the earliest stage of the startup to get a good product market fit. It's really difficult to, especially in a startup where you have to interact with a lot of third parties. So for us, we'll have to interact with a lot of crypto exchanges, wallets, and all other platforms where people invest their money in. So dealing with all those third parties is another huge challenge. And yeah, apart from these challenges, there were quite a few technology challenges as well. So I was the first employee of the startup, so I had to build, along with the help of some of my juniors. We had to build everything from the scratch. So all the technology decisions, architecture decisions had to be taken by us. So that was both difficult and I would say enlightening. I got to learn a lot as in during the process as well. So yeah, these were like some of the hardships that we faced. There were some blockers as well, but yeah, it's all about figuring out the blockers and moving forward.
Right, true. So this question is to both of you. What specific advice would you like to give your juniors seeking internship opportunities? Also, it would be great if you could also give some particular advice for students seeking internship opportunities abroad, because both of you have received opportunities from abroad. So yeah.
Okay, so I think like let me take it first. I would say the main thing that you should be focusing on. So like the interview process is almost similar as as any other big tech company in India, like Microsoft or Amazon for sake. The only so like I would say if you're really interested into applying for an international internship, you should like start very early, because and from early I mean, so like in India, I think most of the companies start their interview process from fall, like August or September, right? But if you're applying for like for an international role, I would say try reaching out to recruiters from mid of April or May, or early May at least, because like I guess like that was the same time I got my first call from Facebook, and after Facebook I further interviewed with TikTok London, Databricks, Palantir, and a bunch of other companies across Europe. And all these interviews actually happened during I think all these interviews were actually like finished by August ending. So I think this was the time when actually companies start interviewing in India. But if you are looking for opportunities abroad, I think you should like, first thing is start applying early. Second thing, like build connections and build network with people, and try to find out like interns in past years who have got into particular set of company. Let's say if you're interested in knowing in applying for, let's say, Palantir, a company in London, try to find out what all people have is currently work from your country, and then like reach out to them over LinkedIn or somewhere else, and try to find out like how exactly they got the opportunity, and like do and try to ask them if they actually like what is the expected time for the openings to come up, and like what should be the best way to apply. I think reaching out to previous interns or previous like employees who are currently from your country should be a good way to go. Other thing is like you should have a very clear idea. Like you should like know what all companies actually sponsor visa and what doesn't. Because like I was doing this mistake for I think a couple of months. So like when I started applying I think from Feb or March I guess, and I was applying for in companies in like US. In like most of the companies I was applying, they were in US, and I had no idea about what US visa system was, and like there were so many like blockers to that. So like I think in March, and from March, I guess when I got an understanding, okay, like US is like not possible for this year at least, then I shifted my target to like my focus to EMEA region and APAC, and some companies in Japan also. So you should like first know what all companies are right now hiring, and which companies actually do sponsor visa. So for London, I would say, just for example, like Facebook do sponsor Facebook, Google, Amazon, Bloomberg, and Palantir does. Airbnb also does sponsor visa. And there are other than these big tech companies, there are also a couple of startups. If you're going towards Amsterdam, then there are companies like Booking.com, Uber, Optiver. So all these companies do sponsor visa. So first thing, like prepare Google Doc or a Notion sheet where you can just like list all these resources, like which companies actually sponsor visa. List out all the contacts that you have in those companies. It could be your recruiters, and for recruiters I would say there's a bunch of like Chrome extensions that you can install, which helps you to actually find out and scrap email ID of a particular recruiter. So you can always cold mail them, and if they don't reply you on the first attempt, of course they won't, then like try to like do it like for multiple times, try to follow up with them for 2 or 3 times before finally giving up. So yes, I think start early. First thing, start early. Second thing, I would say to talk to the people who have already gotten into those companies and try to ask them how was their interview process. Third thing, try to like create and summarize everything into a resource book which you can like look up to. This will help you to better track of all these things, all the companies. And also like for like interview experience, that maybe like you want to understand how exactly Palantir interviews the candidate or how exactly Bloomberg interviews, I think just go on Lead Code Discuss and try to read out the interview experience of what all companies are there, and like how exactly those people apply to those companies. So I would say, yeah, this should be helpful. And if you are applying for a role outside, and I would say like limit your search to a certain companies which really sponsor visa, because not every other company does that. So like first try to like see like search for students from India, like from your college, maybe from your seniors or so, or someone that if they actually know someone who works in a particular company or not. Otherwise like your efforts will simply go into waste, because like you fill a form, it takes at least 5 or 10 minutes, and like you do it for around 10 to 20 companies every day, and they're not going to respond to that. So only a pair to come. So like have a clear list of what all companies do sponsor visa, what are the previous interns that they had, what's the conversion ratio also for intern to full-time office. So take all these things into mind before applying to a company, I would say.
Wow, that was very, very insightful. Kunasa, would you also like to share your advice?
So yeah, Shivan summarized it like pretty well. So I'll just add on a couple of things to that. So as Shivan's mentioned, like do at least for abroad opportunities, do try to narrow it down to companies that offer you visa sponsorship, because otherwise it's going to cost you not only time but a ton of money that you don't want to lose. So yeah, narrow your search down to companies that do offer visa. But apart from that, I would also say expand your horizon of companies from just the companies that everyone else looks at. Like most people just look at the big companies, right? So that everyone is talking about, like Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and whatever. But there are tons of other startups or companies in the world that also have great engineering talent, that are also looking for more engineering talent. So especially in India right now, like one thing I would definitely suggest everyone watching is to explore the Indian startup ecosystem. There are really good startups coming out, and they are in need of good engineering talent. So do try to apply there as well. So yeah, first thing I would say, expand your horizon, and yeah, second, as Shivan said, like start early. The earlier the better. Don't wait for college to start on campus placements or something like that. And yeah, but if you don't get placed early, don't get discouraged. It's totally all right. uh, we've had companies coming on campus even in the month of April and picking out students and giving like one of the highest stipends of our batch. So don't worry if you're not getting placed. Just keep your chin up, keep working, and you will land up where you will land up at a really good place. And also don't self reject. Like if you think that you're not going to clear the interview for a company, just give the interview, right? Maybe just give their coding round. Just give it. You have nothing to lose, right? Don't self reject. And yeah, finally, like talking about abroad internships, yeah, as I said, abroad internships are really good, but don't just see the charm of it and limit yourself to just the abroad internships. It's always good if you want to go abroad and if you want to work there. But yeah, do have a wider horizon and look at other companies as well.
Right, too. I think that was very helpful, especially for, students who just started to apply and are looking for internships. I think this would be very helpful, especially the visa point and all of that. I think most people who just start to look for internships might neglect this point and all of that too. Awesome. So, moving on, we've recently been hearing a lot of news about the recent recession and the layoffs by various companies like Coinbase and many others, right? So, what are your views on this?
Okay, so I would say, okay, firstly, why the layoffs are happening and what you can do about it, right? Firstly, why they're happening? Well, bad economy, bad financial and hiring decisions by the companies. So this is always going to happen, right? So we've seen layoffs happening in the 2020 recession, and I've heard stories from my seniors who were getting placed during the 2008 recession. That was much worse. And there were seniors who were talking about how they lost their job one day before joining. So layoffs are going to happen, and it is a fact that they will keep happening. Now what you can do about it, just be a great engineer. For every company that is laying off, there are hundreds or thousands of other companies that are still hiring. So as long as you are a good engineer, you don't really have to worry about getting laid off from a company, because you will be able to secure a good job pretty soon. So yeah, that is my opinion on it.
Right. Shivan, sir, would you like to talk about it?
Sure. So I think so, like there are a bunch of companies right now, like from Coinbase to Twitter to Tesla to SpaceX. Like they are like hiring, they are like laying off people a bunch in so many numbers right now. And I think that's mostly because company overestimated their potential growth, because during the COVID times, like when everyone was sitting at home, like they were using a lot of products and services. But right now, when everyone is back at work, like they have overestimated their growth, and that's why they have like hired a bunch of people. So right now, most of the companies are either doing a hiring freeze across all the levels or doing some like layoffs for like non for like redundant roles. And I think that's quite common. It's kind of similar to what we have saw in the 2002 internet bubble crash. So I think as a student, or as a like if you have accepted an offer from a certain company, I would say what you can do is like try to have your like lead code skills like ready. Don't get them rusty, because like that is the first thing that you need. If like let's say your one of your offer get cancelled, then like you need to interview for a bunch of other companies. So don't like get into this belief system that once you have an offer, like your offer is safe. I personally never do that. And I like sometimes I also feel very bad, because like during my internship hunt, I actually even after signing the Facebook offer, which was I think like the biggest that I could have got, I was still interviewing for a bunch of companies in India, as well as like in other European countries, because like I was actually very scared that maybe because of like the international travel ban, and like there's sometimes like the visa embassies were also shut down. So it could be possible that I couldn't actually get to travel to UK. So that's why I continued interviewing with the different companies. I also interviewed with TikTok in London. I interviewed with Stripe Dublin office. Somehow got rejected, and a few other companies in India also. And I made sure that I always have a few backup offers for me, like to actually like support a main offer. So in India, I actually signed offers from Samsung Research Institute and Goldman Sachs and Walmart Labs. Just these three backup offers in order to support my Facebook offer, because let's say if I can't move to UK, I can pick the best of these three companies. But like on an ethical level, you should not really do that. But I think these days, if companies can actually like resign your offer, then I think you should also, I mean, like you should also like think about your job security first. So try to have like multiple offers. Talk about like try to like discuss with the engineers who are currently in those companies what exactly the internal scene is look like right now. Like if there are any chances. So like this is the same thing I did just for my Facebook offer. So I actually like wrote to my recruiter like I think last week or so. Asking like what is the validity of my offer, because I have seen a lot of like hiring freeze in Facebook, and there are some rumors that Facebook is going to like lay off a couple of roles. So is it true, or like how exactly it's going to impact my offer? And I got like reassurance call from my from my hiring manager as well as from my recruiter that like you don't need to worry about anything, and this is like for returning interns, they'll be always safe. And yeah, so I think like have a talk with your recruiter, and also at the same time try to have some backup offers, because right now even if Facebook like resigns my offer, I still have a job at Optio. I can like work at full time over here for a couple of years, I would say. So yeah, have multiple offers, try to like communicate with the recruiters and ask them what's exactly going on inside the company. And yes, I would say like have your lead code skills always ready.
Right, that makes a lot of sense. So, Gunasa, following up with the previous question, how do you view this scenario of an economic recession from the lens of CoinX's growth?
Okay. So as I mentioned, the reason why this is happening, and as Shivansh mentioned as well, companies overestimated the potential growth, and they made bad financial decisions and bad hiring decisions, and some part because of the economy. And regarding CoinX, I would say I trust that we have a CEO who is capable enough to, more than qualified enough to steer us through the recession. So yeah, I believe that our company will be able to make it through.
Awesome. So we've come to like an end with the questions that we wanted to ask. But if the audience wish to ask anything, you can drop the questions in the chat box and we will take them up now. Uh, so we have a fun question from Prajul sir for Shivansa. Um, is it true that we're required to change CSS and align buttons as an intern at Facebook?
Oh yes, yeah, that's true.
Wow, okay. So we also have like another question. Many of them, even though they have the talent to ace the international company interviews, they're only left out because they don't know when to apply for these companies. What is your advice on this note?
I would say is that like as you already mentioned, is that start applying early. And I was trying to like write a blog or something like that to actually like just jot down the entire process of how exactly I see, because I've also like got myself into a couple of companies, and I also helped a few friends of mine like right now, and a few juniors who are currently interning at different international companies. So yes, I was thinking to like write down an entire like timeline and schedule and what all companies sponsor visa in across different countries. So maybe like there are already a couple of resources for this on internet. So like if you search for again, there's a GitHub repo called companies sponsoring visa in UK. Like you can find a list of companies which sponsor visa in UK. And you also first thing like you should like know. So let's say if there's a like very limited set of companies that do so. So let's say we talk about Singapore. In Singapore, I think there's Shopee, ByteDance is there, and I think WorkApps is also there. Or Stripe again, Stripe is there. So I think in every country there's hardly like 5 or 10 companies which actually sponsor visa for interns. But and so like you should like yeah like you should like just try to start early and talk to like other folks who have got into the same company like same roles as you want. That's I think the only thing you can do as an applicant.
Right, true, that's very helpful. Um, so we'll wait for a couple of seconds if anyone else has any questions. So yeah, if anyone has questions, they can drop them in the chat box and we'll take them. Okay, so I guess we don't have any more questions, but if anyone ever wants to ask anything to them, then we'll be sharing your LinkedIn profiles, and I'm pretty sure like you can reach out to them. So with that, we've come to the end of today's episode. Thank you so much, Guna sir and Shivan sir, for taking your time out and joining us today and sharing all of your wonderful insights. I'm pretty sure it helped. It helped me, and I'm pretty sure that it helped the audience a lot. And thank a big thanks to the audience for staying with us until the end. This also marks the end of Hype for this year, but we also have like a lot of other events planned up. So stay tuned and subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow our social media handles to be updated with everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.